All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling the meeting to order. First off, I just want to recognize we're holding this meeting on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, particularly our neighbors with the Qualicum Nation. First item of business is adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda suggested by members of council? Councillor Skipsey, or just adopting the agenda?
Well, the correspondence, the item of correspondence, I'm not sure that this is the best place to receive that. And there was a bit of discussion about the title and the implications of what that might mean for the town. So I wondered about whether it would be deferred until a later meeting.
So I had a conversation with our CEO as well, and I was sort of thinking about that this morning. I will note there was an earlier petition we received where I had some concerns about the title a few months ago. And we are just receiving the petition, so we're not really doing anything with it. So I'm not sure we should defer it when I thought about it this morning. But at the same time, I do think your point about when we have a title which is leading somewhat, that's a thing we might want to discuss as a council at the next meeting. Like, should we have a policy for receiving a petition and not including the name? But I think, Ms. Varela, too, you mentioned there was a statement from the mayor that you discussed with him, am I correct?
Thank you, Chair. Actually, it's a statement from staff, and my apologies, because I think if the staff comment had been included on the agenda, that might solve some of the concerns. So with your indulgence, could I read this statement, and then council can decide whether to defer that to another meeting, and staff would actually include this statement, or this comment on the agenda as is common practice.
By all means, please.
Thank you. So staff recognize that people are passionate in their sometimes opposing views about the airport. Council recently received for information a petition with 89 signatures which asks for council to restrict aircraft over residential areas, prohibit helicopter training over residential areas, and to change landing fees. In this same transparent approach, staff recommend that council receive for information, either at this meeting or another, the more recent petition supporting the airport with its almost 3,000 signatures, while recognizing that the town welcomes a full range of public input on all matters related to the airport, both pro and con. Staff note that the title of the petition, Protect Our Qualicum Beach Airport from Noise Complaints, may infer to some that noise complaints are a threat to the airport, while in reality, noise complaints are only one of the many inputs to council's decision-making about the airport. Importantly, the town recognizes safe, respectful input from any position on any matter of municipal business as being key to freedom of speech. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I just want to highlight too, is sort of this morning I was thinking about this, because we're not taking any action from the petition, I think it would be odd to defer it, the more I thought about it. But I'm not going to presuppose what we do as a council. Are there any other comments on this? Oh, sorry, we're talking about the agenda right now, technically. So is there do we want to adopt the agenda, or do you want to make an amendment to the agenda?
Well, I would like to amend the agenda to remove the item of correspondence and have it appear at the next regular meeting on December 10th.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Vandervalk seconding. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, so just personally, again, I think that we're just receiving it, and we usually don't defer business when we're not taking action on that. That would be a bit of a change. With that, is any further comments? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment to withdraw item number 2? 2 in favor. All those opposed? Motion fails because it's a 2-2 tie. Ergo, any other changes to the agenda that would be proposed? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted as posted, pardon me, sorry. And then just item number 2, the correspondence. Any further comments on the actual petition itself? Councillor Vandervalk, please.
Yeah, I think, to my mind, the emphasis of the petition is basically to protect or in favor of the Qualicum Beach Airport. So, and I'm hoping most people signed on that basis, so I don't think that it's acceptable the way that it is presented from noise complaints. My recommendation would be that the petitioner, the main petitioner that set it up through an online petition service, rename the petition and send it out again so that it's not people, so that we can tell if it's people that are wanting to protect the airport, or is it people that are concerned with the noise complaints. And again, even the noise complaint concern, there is a right for people to speak their mind. So I don't like the petition the way it's set up, simply because I don't think it's fair to say you can't have freedom of speech.
Okay. Could maybe, oh, sorry, I see Ms. Varela raising her hand.
I don't believe the town has the authority to influence a petition in that way. Again, this is receipt for information. It is a petition that has been put together, addressed to council. Council's now moving that to another meeting. Staff will provide the, are you dealing it with this at this meeting? Yes. Okay, sorry. So the comment has been provided by staff, and I can check if we have authority to do that, but it's very difficult to edit what is submitted to the town. So I think that might be outside our scope.
I would just caution too, this is my second term. I've received several petitions during my time, some of which I agree with, some of which I do not. I would caution us setting a precedent where we start sending feedback back to the petition, how should I say it, the person who's running point on the petition. Even if the majority of us disagree with the wording or the point of it. But that's, Councillor Skipsey, please.
Yeah, well, I just think the wording in the letter we received suggesting that that making changes could jeopardize its operation, and I don't believe that changing the noise-sensitive areas as were proposed are going to jeopardize the operation of the airport. So I just have a few concerns about sort of assumptions or direction in the petition itself. And really, it's not the day-to-day operations that seem to be the issue. It's the circuit training that the majority of complaints that I've heard are really about that repetition of noise. And so I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that that these people who have complained are anti-airport or anything like that. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Young. Sorry, I saw Ms. Varela raising her hand.
Oh.
So, sorry, maybe Ms. Varela first, then Councillor Young. My
Yeah,
apologies,
just a
Councillor Young.
cautionary note about infringement, again, whether infringement on anyone's right to free speech or right to petition, whether for or against. So the petition that was received by council previously with 89 signatures made requests for things that were outside the scope of the authority of the airport. The town still received that based on people's right to free speech, to put forward a position, whether it's within authority or not. So I would just caution again about any infringement to that. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Young, please.
I just want to comment that I appreciate how engaged our residents are, whether they're pro or against something. And it reminds me of going back to the light issue that we had, the street lights, and it's listening to people and just making our community better. And this is about making our airport better. And I just appreciate the input, and I would like to defer it for staff recommendations on dealing with some of the comments in the letters.
Okay, thank you. We don't have to do anything with this. I would also just caution citizens who are either passionately for or against that looking at the change.org website, and we have the same thing in our agenda package, it's based off a newspaper article. Our agendas are published online for the committees of the whole and to council agenda business. If you're concerned exactly what's been discussed in previous meetings as a citizen, please reach out to staff to see what the exact dates of all the meetings have been, and you can watch that at home. You can watch the YouTube videos of all our discussions on the airport. I don't have all the dates on me at this time because there's been several discussions, but I just would caution people that if you want to know what council is actually saying, please watch the videos and read the agendas and then check the minutes because those are the actual sources. So this is on the agenda right now. There is a staff recommendation. There's no need to really do anything, quite frankly, on this. Is there a resolution from any member of council on this item? Seeing none, then I guess we'll just move on to sorry, Ms. Varela.
Again, Your Worship, Chair, sorry. I believe that there's no action by council today. I still have to bring it forward to a future. I still believe it has to be received for information, as all of your other unedited petitions have been. Staff will provide that on the next agenda for a council meeting, and will provide the comment that I read out loud today. Thank you.
And I do want to add that I do agree with Councillors Skipsey and Van der Valk that if we don't want to get in an arms race of petitions with increasingly risible language that gets people hot and bothered and maybe isn't a perfect reflection of what we're actually doing. So I do take it to heart that staff are going to bring that back, and maybe we'll talk about how do we make sure moving forward the petitions that we receive are a little bit more neutral in our agendas. So it doesn't give folks a sense that the town is leaning in one direction or another as staff or as an organization. We're just receiving it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. So with that, I think we are well advised to move the sacrament recommendation of just receiving it. So I'll move that just to make sure that we're consistent with process. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Young? Okay. Any further discussion on the staff recommendation of just receiving it for information? Sorry, Councillor Skipsey, please.
Well, I won't be voting in favor because I would like it to come forward to the next meeting with the staff comment attached. So I won't be voting in favor for that reason.
Okay, fair enough. Any other further comments on the staff recommendation? With that, call the question. All those in favor of the staff recommendation? All those opposed to the staff recommendation? Councillor Skipsey opposed. Thank you very much. And I do want to take to heart that Councillor Skipsey and Van der Valk did make some good points on this issue. Okay, with that, staff report number 3 on all things airport. And this is the Town of Qualicum Beach Airport Establishment and Operations Bylaw. And I believe Mr. Goldfuss, you'll be leading the discussion on this?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this report is to outline the proposed changes to Town of Qualicum Beach Airport Establishment and Operations Bylaw number 457.05/1998 and outline alternatives considered throughout the drafting of this bylaw amendment. When reviewing the Town of Qualicum Beach Airport and Establish an Operations Bylaw, the following comparators were used. Mr. Chair, there was 10 comparators that were used as per the table. Summary of changes in the bylaw. Number 1, updated definitions, Section 2. Number 2, updated general provisions, Section 4. Number 3, updated airport manager duties and responsibilities, Section 9. And number 4, updated Schedule A, Qualicum Beach Airport fees. All rates, with the exception of terminal lease rates, were reviewed and updated to reflect the average rates of all comparators that charge similar fees. The terminal lease rates will be addressed in a subsequent report given contractual agreement. 2026 rates reflect the average of all comparators, and a 3% increase was implemented for 2026 and every year after. The town's lease rates for the previous 5 years were established in 2021 and include a minimal increase. This has resulted in the airport lease fees being below the mean rate of competitors. An initial increase is required in 2026 to bring these rates up to a rate that is comparable with similar airports. Lease rates, hangar leases. Lease rates of comparators were reviewed and updated to reflect the mean rate. This represents an increase from 2025 of 43 cents per square foot to 55 cents per square foot in row A in 2026, 38 cents a square foot to 47 cents a square foot in row B in 2026, and 31 cents per square foot to 39 cents per square foot in row C in 2026. The 2026 hangar lease rates proposed above would result in an increase in revenue of approximately $18,000 annually, provided there are no changes to tenants. A monthly authorized sublease maintenance fee is included at $242 per month for 2026. This is an increase of approximately $31 per month from the current variable sublease rate. Sublease holders are still required to pay user fees. Aircraft parking and tie-down space. Daily rates serve as a minimum rate charged for aircraft parking and tie-down space. Under the new bylaw, the commercial tenant leasing terminal space would be entitled to park 2 aircraft on the paved ramp. The bylaw also establishes reserved tie-down spaces and a cone system to identify reserved spaces for leaseholders and regular users. This system will also allow better tracking overall of users at the airport. A separate area will be designated and signed for transient aircraft parking. Aircraft parking fees and tie-downs were increased to align with the average aircraft parking fees of comparators. Fees were increased as follows. Daily aircraft parking and tie-down fees were increased for grass tie-down space from $11 per day in 2025 to $12.50 a day in 2026. Monthly tie-down fees increased for grass tie-down space from $80 a month in 2025 to $82.50 per month in 2026. Annual tie-down fees were increased for grass tie-down space from $640 a year in 2025 to $660 a year in 2026. Daily tie-down fees were increased for paved tie-down space from $17 a day in 2025 to $17.50 per day in 2026. Monthly tie-down fees were increased for paved tie-down space from $120 a month in 2025 to $123.75 per month in 2026. Annual tie-down fees were added for paved tie-down space at $989 per year, which is the same as the commercial tenant rate. The above proposed changes will result in a nominal revenue increase. The proposed rate increase above will be offset by a reduction in tie-down fees resulting from moving from 1 allowed aircraft on the paved ramp to 2 allowed aircraft for commercial tenants leasing terminal space. Airport user fees. Currently, airport user fees are one of the main sources of revenue from the airport. In 2024, the town billed $17,800 for user fees at the airport. As there are a limited number of uncontrolled airports, there are few comparators that use a user fee system. As such, a 3% increase was added from 2025 to all airport user fees. On-site commercial corporate rates were adjusted from $340 per month for on-site commercial corporate users in 2025 to $350.25 a month in 2026. $2,720 a year in 2025 to $2,801.75 a year in 2026. Off-site commercial corporate rates were adjusted from $440 a month in 2025 to $453.25 a month in 2026, and $3,520 a year in 2025 to $3,625.75 a year in 2026. Airport user fees are currently only charged for on-site or off-site commercial corporate entities. Airport passenger fees. Airport passenger fees are fees applied to commercial carriers for each M-plane passenger and are standard fees at most airports. The airport passenger fees were increased from $11 per N-plane passenger, a rate that has not been updated since 2023, to $13 in 2026 to the average fee charged across comparators. Vehicle parking rates. The vehicle parking rates were adjusted to reflect the average daily parking rates across comparators. This meant a rate adjustment from $5 a day in 2025 to $8 a day in 2026. Fuel service charge. The fuel service charge is 27 cents per liter. The proposed bylaw changes the fuel service charge to the greater of 20% or 27 cents per liter on the purchase price of both avgas and Jet A fuel offered for sale at the airport. 20% is the average surcharge charged across comparators who use percentage for calculation. Gate card. Gate card fees were added to the bylaw to recover costs of issuing new or replacement gate access cards. Gate card fees are $25 plus tax. Advertising fees. Advertising fees were added to the bylaw as there has been requests to place advertisements in the airport terminal. This is a common practice of airports, and the rates were determined on the average prices charged per month and per year for promotional materials being available and on display at an airport. The proposed rate is $20 a month and $80 per year. Schedule C aircraft tie-down accommodation agreement removed from the bylaw. Schedule C was removed from the bylaw in order to allow for staff to make modifications to the form without amending the bylaw. Reference to Schedule C has been modified to reflect the form required by the town. Review of airport landing fees. The town transitions away from collecting airport landing fees in 2021. It was noted in the March the 17th, 2021 regular council meeting report that the change was proposed for the following reasons. Quote, it was challenging and time-consuming for staff and airport users to track and report their landings. It is difficult and time-consuming for both the town and the airport user to count and record actual landings. As we don't have full-time staff at the airport, the onus would be on an operator to count landings every time they use the airport, end quote. Since 2021, the town has retained an airport manager for 3 days a week. Given operational requirements, capital projects, and council's strategic initiatives for the airport, there is not capacity to monitor departures and arrivals at the airport. For an airport to charge landing fees, including for touch-and-go operations, the aircraft must be identifiable. This is typically done using Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast, ADSB. ADSB is a surveillance technology in aviation that allows aircraft to use the GPS and other sensors to determine its position and broadcast that information periodically to air traffic control and other aircraft. This enables more accurate tracking and enhances safety by providing a more precise view of an aircraft's position, speed, and altitude compared to traditional radar. It can also provide pilots with in-cockpit traffic and weather information. Because Qualicum Beach is located in uncontrolled airspace and does not have a flight service station, NAV Canada, to record takeoffs, landings, or touch-and-go operations, staff have been researching available technologies such as cameras and aircraft movement tracking systems. Vector Airport Systems, known as PlanePass, is a US-based company that provides a combination of cameras installed along runways and ADSB monitoring. This combination allows for both visual confirmation and electronic data collection. Staff received a quote from Vector Airport Systems. The installation cost was $50,000 USD with an annual lease and maintenance cost of $12,000 USD. However, Vector provided the following statement for the context of the Qualicum Beach Airport. Quote, given the tracking challenges, we have low confidence that the system would accurately capture every touch and go. Overall, we have significant concerns about the system's effectiveness and whether the revenue generated would justify the investment, end quote. Alpha Aero Solutions is an Ottawa-based company that provides data collection technology using ADS-B tracking through their Alpha Aircraft Movement Tracker. This software tracks aircraft equipped with ADS-B and can collect data for landings, touch-and-go operations, and other movements such as circuits. It should be noted that not all aircraft are equipped with ADS-B, particularly older aircraft, which would result in inconsistencies in data collection. Consequently, not all aircraft using the Qualicum Beach Airport would be recorded. Council may wish to consider entering into a one-year equipment lease agreement in 2026 with Alpha Aero Solutions to provide the Qualicum Beach Airport with the Alpha Aircraft Movement Tracker. This system would provide data on the number of ADS-B equipped aircraft using the airport. At the end of 2026, staff would bring forward a report to Council summarizing the number of ADS-B equipped aircraft that use the airport. Should this be an effective technology that reports broad ADS-B equipped aircraft utilizing the airport, Council could revisit implementing landing fees at the airport after 2026. During that period, staff will be able to estimate the required staff time to review the data and assess the appropriate landing fees. The cost associated with a one-year agreement would be $5,500 plus applicable taxes. Staff time would also be required. It is unclear what the operational impact would be, but it is anticipated that it could be prioritized within the work plan. Note, if Council chooses to enter into a one-year agreement with Alpha Aero Solution, Council direction will be required. Financial implications. The proposed revisions to the bylaw will generally result in an approximate 3% increase in revenue from 2025, helping to keep pace with inflation. The proposed rates were calculated based on the average rates of comparable airports. Council may wish to consider setting fees higher than the average. Overall implications for the proposed bylaw from increases to hangar lease rates, airport passenger fees, user fees, tie-down fees, and vehicle parking fees is estimated to be an increase in revenue of $28,000 for 2026. The adjustment from 27 cents per liter fuel surcharge to a 20% fuel surcharge over or whichever amount is greater is excluded from this calculation as it is based on the volume of fuel sales. 2025 net profit from fuel sales is projected to be approximately $35,000. If Council chooses to enter a one-year contract with Alpha Aero Solutions, there will be a financial impact on the airport's 2026 operating budget of $5,500 plus taxes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goldfuss. So I guess I'm going to start off with, are there any questions from members of Council? And I'm assuming there's going to be a few. Councillor Skipsey, please.
Okay, well, thank you to staff for your work on putting this report together. I have to say that it doesn't reduce the gap between our expenses and revenues as much as I was hoping or anticipating, I guess. And so I do have a number of questions. First off, around the comparators. And I'm wondering if it's possible for Council to get a bit more information about perhaps the airports that are closest to us. Like, I don't see us being that concerned about being competitive with airports in Vernon or Trail. For me, I'm more interested about what is Nanaimo charging or Campbell River, who would be in direct competition, let's say, with Qualicum Beach. So I'm wondering if there's any chance of receiving a chart that might look at some of these fee increases and what these other local airports are charging. And also wondering about Courtenay and Port Alberni, why those two weren't chosen. Thank you.
Either Mr. Goldfuss or Ms. Varela.
Thank you, Chair. Just a note that on page 7, the comparators were listed and included Nanaimo and Campbell River. All 10 were used, whether they were uncontrolled airspace or controlled airspace, with specific answer to the exclusion of the 2 that were listed or questioned about. I'll defer to the airport manager for the selection. Could you rename those, Councillor Skipsey?
Well, I named Courtney or Port Alberni.
Mr. Goldfuss, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to note that the Courtney Air Park is a very small operation. So in comparators, it's very small. It doesn't have a terminal, from what we understand. It doesn't have the infrastructure that the other comparators have. But nonetheless, it is a comparator. We did for fuel, for an example, the Courtney Air Park. They charge a 25-cent fee in addition, over and above. Currently, the Qualicum Beach Airport charges 27 cents, for an example. But there are no hangars. There is, like I say, no terminal. There are no tenants, from what we understand, at the Courtney Air Park. It's basically just an airstrip. It provides fuel. It's very minimal in terms of comparators. So that is why there isn't a lot to compare with that particular airport. Does that help answer that question?
And Port Alberni, what was?
We did not use Port Alberni, but again, we, for fuel, the Alberni Valley Regional Airport, we do know that their markup on their fuel is 25%.
Councillor Skipsey.
Yeah. I just think it would be helpful for me to know, like, what is Nanaimo charging for their lease rates? Or what is Nanaimo charging for their tie-down space? Like, I just think that that's probably one of our closest competitors or airports. And likewise with Campbell River. I think having more breakdown of what each of those airports, especially on the island, are charging would be helpful.
If I may, some of those airports do have fee schedules that are published. So I am looking at Nanaimo's on my computer screen because I had this ready the day before. But there are some other airports where it's very hard to find a fee schedule, like Pitt Meadows. I couldn't find anything. But if you want, I could list off some of the comparators just right now. There are a few variances that are actually pretty extreme, but staff, I see Ms. Varela raising her hand.
Thank you. So what council could consider is to either read the bylaw a first and or a second time today, and then staff could bring back that depth of detail that council is looking at prior to considering third reading, if that would be appropriate, Chair.
That's perfectly reasonable. Sorry, I interrupted you as you were about to start a second question. Councillor Vandervalk then. Sorry, I'm just going to go in a circle here.
Thank you. I did have a question, a couple of questions. On page 9, where you're talking about advertising fees, I'm just wondering why the proposed rate is $20 per month and $80 per year. If it was $20 per month and over 12 months, that would be $240 per year. So logically, everybody would pay $80 for the year if that's only really 40 or 4 months in comparison to 20 per month. So I'm wondering why there's such a big gap there.
Mr. Goldfuss.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. I believe that there's two types of advertising there. The $20 per month would be for, like, on the TV screen, for an example. The $80 per year would be like for little pamphlets and whatnot. So there is a difference in advertising, and We probably could have explained that in a little more detail, but that's how that would break out.
Councillor Vandervalk?
Yes, thank you. So if you could break that out a bit more in the future, when we come back to this, I would appreciate that. And on the same page, page 9, and the bottom paragraph, given operational requirements, capital projects, and council's strategic initiatives for the airport, there is not capacity to monitor departures and arrivals at the airport. Could you just remind us what the council strategic initiatives currently are? Because my understanding is that those initiatives have been put on hold.
Ms. Varela?
Thank you. So I think the completion of this is still a strategic initiative, again, still taking time. We want to bring terminal lease rates back for consideration. I think the really big point is that without technology, we would have to have someone monitoring takeoffs and landings during the operating hours of the airport, which isn't feasible. So I think the strategic initiatives is a very small part of that. I think what you really have is the limited staff capacity to monitor takeoff and landings during that time, which is why staff have brought forward 2 potential solutions with relatively small budget impact, that if you really want to proceed down that path, that might be a much more viable option. We simply don't have the staffing to adequately monitor. We could rely on an honor system as well, but again, that would be a separate conversation if council wanted to provide direction on that. But you do have an airport manager for 3 days a week. We do have a very engaged public. Just the quarterly reporting that we provide takes a lot of time. So I think you do receive a very high level of service from the airport for very limited staffing hours, as is the current situation. Thank you.
Councillor Vandervalk?
Thank you. And on page 10, where we are looking at alternatives to somebody, staff monitoring, I just have a question regarding the automatic dependent surveillance broadcast. In the second sentence, it says that broadcast information periodically to air traffic control and other aircraft. My question is, can pilots not turn this off at their own discretion? So would that perhaps defeat the purpose of trying to track them?
Mr. Goldfuss?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From what we understand, it may be possible, but we would never be able to confirm that. You just don't know. It's like turning off the radio in your car. We just don't have any technology to confirm whether it be on or off. I think if I can just add to that, and it is important to note that not all aircraft are equipped with ADS-B, okay? And the majority of these aircraft that use the Qualicum Beach Airport, they're older aircraft. They're 1950s, 60s, 70s vintage. From what we do understand, the production of new aircraft are providing ADS-B. And also from what we understand is ADS-B is not a requirement with Transport Canada currently for these small aircraft at this point. In the future, it may become a requirement, but as I say, the majority of the aircraft that are using the Qualicum Beach Airport are older, and they do not have that technology of ADS-B.
That was one of my questions, is what do you mean by older? Sorry. Councillor Vandervalk, I assume you want to carry on?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I think that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Vandervalk. Councillor Young?
I just have a question regarding the advertising fees. I feel that the fees that we're charging is very, very low, $20 per month for to be on the TV screen. I feel in business, we pay so much more to be on the print media, to be on the radio media. It's like $350 a month to be on the radio daily, and you get about 6 to 8 commercials a day. So I just feel if they're on the TV screen, we should be charging upwards of $200-300. And regarding $80 per year for pamphlets, if you were to advertise in the PQB News, it's just a little business card size, and that's only there for that week, it's like $200-300 again. So when they're allowed to put pamphlets out, I think some of these bigger companies would certainly pay upwards of anywhere like $200-300, and we should try to solicit that as income. Then also on vehicle parking rate, how profitable is it after the expenses of having the parking in operation? What's the net profit?
Either Ms. Varela or Mr. Goldfuss on that.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I think staff are taking note of these additional questions. Council has requested detail on comparators. These numbers will be linked to comparators for more detail in the next report that we can provide back to you. Again, we use those comparators. These numbers aren't just pulled from there. They are the average amongst the comparables. So again, I think what's missing is that detail of information. So we can bring that back to you prior to third reading.
And just for clarity on the question Councillor Young asked, I'm just curious for myself, do you mean the revenue generated from the parking or the profit if you consider operational costs?
The net profit after operational costs, just because the parking, charging for parking has come up in regards to St. Stephen's Church, and so just wondering, are we getting the most profit that we can from this parking lot? And also my other comment too is about the meeting room rental fee. $25 per hour, again, seems very low when you look at what our Civic Center will charge out, or for instance, even the church. It's like $125 for 3 hours. So I'm just saying, if we can revisit those rates.
I think having some context at a future meeting will be very helpful, although I am loath to give staff a lot of homework with coming up with charts. But, councillors, is that enough, Councillor Young? Okay, thank you. Councillor Skipsey, sorry.
Yeah, I think it would also be helpful to know what kind of volumes we're dealing with. Like, we talk about the sublease. Well, is that one sublease? Is that 5 subleases? Like, also with tie downs, how many would we anticipate in a year? Like, are we talking 30? Are we talking 100? I think having some kind of information on what the volumes are on some of these, how many commercial corporate rate, I mean, how many of those do we have? Do we have 4? Do we have 20? I think just having some context around the volume would be helpful as well. And then the fuel services charge, I attended the Qualicum Woods Residents Association AGM, and someone brought it to my attention that we are considerably cheaper for fuel sales than Nanaimo Airport. And so I'm just wondering how this would compare with what they charge, and maybe even Campbell River, because again, I think that those are probably 2 of our closer airports.
Thank you very much. I think that's just more of a comment. The staff would weigh in. Ms. Varela. Oh, sorry, Mr. Goldfuss. Sorry, my apologies.
I believe Mr. Goldfuss does have that information at hand, but just for council's understanding, it won't be that much work to actually pull this information together. We already have it. That's what the bylaw was built on. I think you just want to see the level of detail below the report. So we'll bring that back to you with all of your questions that staff are capturing.
And Mr. Goldfuss, anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a couple of references. So Campbell River, for an example, currently their aviation fuel is at $2.52 per liter. Jet fuel is not reported. And the airport authority does not handle that fuel. It's handled by a private company, so they can fluctuate. They don't have a bylaw, so they can fluctuate whatever they want. The Nanaimo Flying Club currently is charging, and the Nanaimo Flying Club, they handle the fuel at Nanaimo Airport. They're currently charging $2.15, and they offer a 10-cent discount to club members. And their markup normally is at 25 cents. And again, our markup currently is at 27 cents.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Skipsey?
I'm just curious then, so what is our rate currently compared to 252 and 215?
Mr. Golfith?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Currently, we're at $2.07.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Skipsey, please.
Well, I just, when we're at that point, I would like to make a motion to try a one-year agreement with Alpha Aero Solutions. So I have a motion I just drafted.
Well, I think the first thing is to get first reading going, probably, of the bylaw, and then we can maybe do that as an amendment or a motion. Would you be looking to actually move it directly, or would you maybe get more information from staff for third reading?
I'll be making a motion. It says on the top of page 11 that if council chooses to enter into a one-year agreement, that council direction will be required. So that would be providing council direction.
Okay. So I just have a few questions, but I guess then, because I haven't gone yet. One thing is, there are some significant variances just with the Nanaimo one, and one of the ones I was paying attention to was the passenger fee. That would be for the scheduled service. So it's only the scheduled service. It wouldn't be, I believe, for charters, if I'm correct, Mr. Goldfuss? Yeah, I see a nod. Okay. So if you have scheduled service, YCD, which is the Nanaimo Airport, charges $6 per passenger. And our staff report does say that we last set the rate in 2023. So it is a over 20% increase. I think it's roughly 20% increase from the current rate. I believe it's currently $11, and we're going to be changing it to $13, if my memory serves me correctly. So that is a pretty steep increase. And I do worry that one of the few services that there's not unanimous agreement on, but there's pretty broad agreement on is things like Aerosmith Search and Rescue, Medevac, scheduled passenger service. And so the scheduled passenger service one is one where I do have some concerns about how fast we're escalating that cost. So I think to staff's point about bringing back a chart with the comparators, I think that'll be a good conversation, but I don't want to suggest a course of action until we see all the comparators. And I think Mr. Goldfuss would probably also comment that it's a bit of an apples and oranges situation because Nanaimo has significantly more volume than we do. But that's also why we get the full report, so I'm not going to suggest any changes on that. The other thing, too, is if we do get a monitoring system, I saw recently in the PQB News that Sealand Air won an award for the best flight training school in the country. Kudos to them. And the newspaper article mentioned they were starting to deploy electric flight training throughout their various places of operation. I'm just wondering, where are they at in terms of our airport, and is there anything we're doing to support that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From what we understand is they currently only have the one electric aircraft. That was the Pipistrel that was demonstrated here at Qualicum Beach earlier this year. And we're not aware of what their business model is currently. What we do know is that they're in the process with Transport Canada of registering these types of aircraft. So that's all the information we have at this point on the electric aircraft. With respect to your second question on how are we supporting, there was an initiative that BC Hydro put together in 2024, and we'll be bringing forward some information at the December the 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting on what it would take to bring three-phase power into the airport to support electric aircraft.
Okay, this is a discussion we've had for some time about electrification of the airport, so it's good to see that moving forward. I would just suggest too, when we're looking at the costs for the flight schools, we might want to include a significant reduction if someone's operating electric airplanes, because that addresses the noise concerns, which is the principal reason we're looking at these fees, from my understanding. The reality is that those sorts of things require capital investments because they're new planes. They're a little bit more expensive, and then the insurance costs are probably different too. So if we want them to make that transition, we should probably be looking at what is a reasonable way to make sure there's a business case, not just a hypothetical discussion of that. And then was there anything else that really leapt out at me? I think because we're going to be getting a lot more information on third reading, I'll just sort of hold off for now. But I did talked to Mr. Goldfuss before about those key operators, scheduled service, some of the other more health-related functions of their search and rescue, and making sure that we don't inadvertently create cost pressures on their operations that have detrimental impacts, because I don't think that's the intent from the town. I don't think that's what the community wants either. There's I hesitate to say 80-20, maybe even more than that, agreement that those services are vital. So I just want to flag that I hope that we have ongoing conversations with some of the key stakeholders about these rate increases, and we're not just setting them first and then having awkward conversations in 6 months about what the bylaw rates are and the impact on their business model. So I'm just flagging that. With that, I think that's pretty much all my things. Councillor Skipsey.
I did have another question, and that is on page 8 in the middle there. It talks about the proposed rate increase will be offset by a reduction in tie-down fees resulting from moving from 1 allowed aircraft on the paved ramp to 2 allowed aircrafts for commercial tenant leasing terminal space, and I just wondered why we were doing that.
Mr. Goldfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was a proposal in consultation with the air carrier. They had requested if they, it would be beneficial to their business plan if they could park 2 aircraft in Qualicum Beach on the apron and not be charged for the second one. And they gave us some comparators on that. So that's why we're recommending to council that they consider the carrier being allowed to park a second aircraft with no additional fees.
Thank you very much. Councillor Skipsey.
Okay, now I'll just make a comment about being average. And I'm not sure that we want to be average in Qualicum Beach. And I'll wait until the other information comes forward, but I would like to see us maybe go a little higher in some areas. And also the 3% across the board, maybe give a little bit more thought to that maybe it could be higher, because some of the things that we're dealing with, the expenses have gone up considerably more. They're not going up by 3% and whatnot. The other thing is the fuel services charge. I think, if we buy the fuel at a reduced cost, it would be nice, or, we somehow get a deal or whatever the rate that we buy it at. But I think it would be nice if we could realize maybe some of the profits if gas prices go up and everyone else is charging more, and we're just putting a 20% or a certain rate on it. Anyways, I think there's opportunity to realize more revenue on the fuel services as well. And then I do have that motion when we're ready.
Okay. I would just comment, though, I'd just be careful that increasing costs are happening on our side, but they're also happening on the business side, too. So we do have to be careful about how much we increase, and I think there's going to be a lot of dialogue back and forth. So that's just a flag. With that, we should probably at least move first reading of this bylaw. Would anyone like to move first reading? Councillor Young, Councillor Skipsey. Any further discussion on first reading? I think we've covered everything already. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of first reading? Okay. And now we can maybe have the discussion for your motion, Councillor Skipsey.
Okay, so I would like to move that council directs staff to enter into a 1-year agreement with Alpha Aero Solutions, and that staff provide a report at the end of the trial period on the advisability of charging landing fees.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Vandervalk. Discussion on that. Councillor Skipsey, do you want to start?
Well, I just think that a lot of the issue is around the touch and goes, and there's also revenue that we may be missing out on because we're not charging landing fees. So I think it's worth to look into this and see if it can be done.
Thank you. Any comments? My question for Mr. Goldfuss would be, so I think, forgive me, Councillor Skipsey, I'm not trying to presume here, but I'm assuming it's the concerns about the circuit training, which is sort of at the root of this. It's not so much just scheduled service or general aviation.
It's not scheduled service, but we used to charge landing fees, and I think that, I don't know, we didn't talk about whether other airports are charging those or not, but again, that might be interesting to know if Nanaimo charges a landing fee, or some of the other airports, maybe non-controlled airports, if they're charging landing fees. But I think we need to look into it at least and see if it can be done.
And I'll just add to your point, there is a section stating aircraft landing fees at the Nanaimo fee schedule. So any comment, Mr. Goldfuss, on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think at the end of the year, when we are able to provide council with the data through Alpha Solutions, it'll be at that time we'll be able to provide a detailed report on the amount of aircraft that used the airport in 2026 that were ADS-B equipped, and we'll be able to respond accordingly with respect to other airports, what they charge for landing fees, do they charge for landing fees for smaller aircraft. I think it's important to note, Mr. Chair, that there doesn't appear to be airports that are charging currently for these smaller aircrafts for landings, takeoffs, and touch and goes. However, we'll do more research and we'll provide that in that detailed report.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions from members of council? Another one for me would just be, a question, if I may, would be, we did have that statement from the provider of the other alternative where they said we don't have confidence that we'll be able to capture everything, and the investment cost, we don't recommend this just because it's a much higher bill for them to install it, and the license fee is significantly higher as well. Have we heard anything from this company about their sort of position regarding the potential effectiveness of their system at our airport?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In discussions with them, what we've learned is there is a low level of confidence as well. And the reason for this is this type of technology is generally used for larger airports with larger aircraft that has air traffic control. So it is a mechanism that these airports are using. It's broadly used in the United States. It is being used in Canada, but again, at larger airports for larger aircrafts. It's not being used specifically for the smaller airports with these smaller type Cessna 172s. So.
And just a second question, if I may. It does say that staff time will also be required. Do we have any idea what the operational cost of the staff time would be? Or would this be something, forgive me, I'm assuming the airport manager would be given the task of updating the information, or maybe staff can provide some clarity on that, what the operational impact actually is?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a really good question. So the way the system works is we will be provided with a data box. It'll go in the airport manager's office. It'll have an antenna on the roof, and that data doesn't come to us. It goes to Alpha Aero Solutions, and they will put that data together however we request it. So for an example, we could request it on a daily basis, monthly, weekly, quarterly, and they will provide and put together, most likely in the form of a spreadsheet, and what it will show is the amount of movements at the Qualicum Beach Airport for aircraft that were ADS-B equipped.
Thank you very much. The question is, do we want to move it right now? Oh, Councillor Skipsey.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to move it, but I did have another question out of, arising from this, and that is, well, then would staff see any advantage to the town asking Transport Canada to make it a requirement for all planes to have this type of technology?
Mr. Goldfuss, I think. Ms. Varela?
Thank you. That's a very high-level question that I think needs to be separate and apart from the bylaw at hand. To keep us moving, I'm wondering if we could consider, did we get first reading?
We have first reading, but we also have a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Skipsey, seconded by Councillor Vanderbalk, that we need to vote on.
Thank you.
So this is for the Alpha Aero Solutions. Yeah. My 2 cents on this, Councillor Young, do you want to say anything quickly?
I would like to not engage with Alpha Solutions this year. I would like to maybe wait another year. We don't have a big positive budget to play with, and this is not inexpensive. It's $5,500. I'm wondering, the airport does have cameras. During the 3 days that you're at the office, do you have some time to review what's on the camera recorded to see who's landing and taking off?
Ms. Varela?
Thank you again. We have a council resolution on the books that CTV footage is only reviewed regarding noise complaints returns to the north.
Thank you very much, Ms. Varela. Okay. Any further questions on this point? The motion brought forward by Councillor Skipsey? Okay, so my concern is that I think I would like to get a little bit more detail from staff, so we actually have a little bit more of a brief report on this, because I think there might be some good information, the feedback from the actual business itself. What are the staff costs in terms of time? How many hours is it? Is it a third of an FTE, 0.1 of an FTE, or is it nominal in terms of staffing time? So I'm in a bit of a bind because I don't want to say no altogether to it, but at the same time, I just feel there's more information we could maybe get at the third reading.
Should we defer it until?
Yeah, is that possible if the mover is amenable to that? Okay, and would staff feel comfortable being able to provide some more information on this solution at third reading? Assuming we do second reading today, forgive me. Ms. Varela.
It will impact the timeline. We were trying to get this bylaw in place for January 1st, but I think with the additional meetings that are already going to be required for billing purposes, we might not be making that timeline. So if I could have the liberty of taking that away and discussing it with staff, the timing of when this is brought back for third reading, if council chooses to move second today, we'll have to work out at the staff level.
Okay, I do think there's a good conversation here, right? And I'm not fixed on where I want to go with this. I just think I just need a little bit more info, but Councillor Skipsey, is that okay, what Ms. Varela said?
Well, I think that this is kind of outside of the bylaw, this motion, so I don't think it would hold anything up. I think the rates
point.
are a separate matter.
So if I assume the deferral is to a future council meeting, so it's not a specified date? Okay, well then that's fine, because to your point, it's not holding up the bylaw. Then we'll get a report as hopefully before budget is finalized, and then we can look at the impacts of that at a future date. So any further discussion on the deferral, strictly the deferral? Ms. Svensson.
Do you have a seconder for the deferral?
Oh, Councillor Vandervalk, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent point. Okay, so we do have a seconder now, so we can actually defer this. Any further conversation on the deferral? With that, all those in favor of deferring Councillor Skipsey's motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Do we have an appetite for second reading of the bylaw? Councillor Vandervalk, Councillor Skipsey.
Well, I just wanted to ask, could we meet, next time we could move second and third at the same time, correct?
I think the issue, Ms. Svensson, could you talk about the schedule? Is it third and adoption we're looking at next time, or? I'll just add, this is a good question.
Sorry, we had it for first and second at this meeting and third reading, consideration of third reading on December the 10th and adoption on December 17th. So those are our only meetings left.
So we could
Preference
give it
would be
second and third at the next meeting?
Yes.
Ms. Varela.
Again, tentative to what staff can compile the data. I understand that you know, we've given you the answers. You want to see the homework behind the answers. We just have a lot of competing deadlines with the OCP and Eagle Crest, so I'm not going to commit to the dates that the corporate officer just read out, but I will bring this back as soon as we can get it back with the information council requested today, and any additional information that you need between now and then. It would be really great to have those questions provided in advance. Thank you.
Excellent point. Thank you very much. So with that, Councillor Skipsey does have a good point. We don't necessarily have to do second reading. So what is council's wish on this? It is going to basically require for the next meeting we have to do second and third, though. So just as a heads up. So what does council wish to do? We could move into the next section of business altogether, which is, I believe, the in-camera, or we can do second reading. So whichever. Councillor Vandervelde.
I would prefer to defer or not have the second reading today. I would like to see the information that we've asked for.
That seems reasonable. If staff are confident we can get adoption by the same time, hopefully. If we don't ask for too much. I do take it to heart that staff have a lot of things hanging in the air. A lot of plates are spinning as we speak. So I understand they're working very hard right now. So hopefully we can get everything done in time. And God help us all if we have to schedule a special meeting. With that, I guess since there's no one who's moving second reading, we'll move on to the motion to close. Councillor Skipsey, Councillor Young, all those in favor? We are closed, and thank you very much, everyone, for attending.